people have been killed after gunmen opened fire on a bus stop. It happened just after the morning rush hour along a major highway. Israel police say the attackers were killed. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu just left the scene of the attack. And let's bring in CNN's Oren Liebermann now from Jerusalem with more on this. And did we hear Netanyahu speak at all, Oren?
We did, Brian. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the scene of the shooting along a major highway in Jerusalem a short time ago. And as part of the statement he made at the scene, he acknowledged that the IDF, the Israeli military, and the security agency were hard at work, he said, and had thwarted what he called hundreds of attacks. But he admitted the failure in this case. Here's part of his statement. He said, the Shin Bet and the IDF thwarted hundreds of attacks this year, but unfortunately not this morning. These murders only increase our determination to complete the missions in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria, and elsewhere, or everywhere, in Judea and Samaria. He refers to the biblical term for the occupied West Bank. He continues and says, we will intensify our actions and achieve all our objectives. Meanwhile, the far-right finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who did not visit the scene, issued a fiery statement. He said that the villages from where these, quote, terrorists came from should look like Rafah and Bet Hanun. So an open threat there to demolish or destroy the villages from where these attackers came from to carry out the shooting attack that occurred just after 10 o'clock this morning. So shortly after morning rush hour at a crowded bus stop along a major highway there. Meanwhile, the Israeli military says they deployed forces not only to the scene of the shooting itself, but also to the Palestinian city of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. It's worth noting that it's been a very long time since we've seen an attack, certainly of this magnitude, in Jerusalem. This goes back to, according to what we're looking at, November 2023, when two Hamas militants carried out a shooting attack in Jerusalem that killed 3 people and injured several others. It's been that long since we've seen a deadly shooting attack within the municipal boundaries of Jerusalem itself. In addition to at least 5 people who were killed in this attack, according to Israel's emergency response services, Magen David Adom, there were 6 people they treated in serious condition, 2 in moderate condition, and 3 in mild condition. In terms of those killed, Magen David Adom says there were 4 men, 1 in his 50s and 3 in their 30s, as well as a woman in her 50s who was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, where she succumbed to her injuries at the hospital. Ryan?
And Oren, given that the prime minister was there on scene, clearly that showcases that the scene is secure at this point. Do we know where the investigation goes next? Do we know where these shooters were from, what their motives may have been?
Nothing official on where they came from yet. That's certainly part of the investigation, and that will be part of the effort of Israel's security agency, the Shin Bet, who will look into not only where they came from, but also how this was coordinated. Was it coordinated with Hamas or another terrorist organization? Hamas did not claim responsibility for the attack, though they did praise the shooters in the attack. So all of that will be part of the investigation itself. Again, where they came from, how this was carried out, was this part of a larger cell, or was this a lone wolf attack? And those have proven to be much harder to detect and stop when it is 1 or 2 people carrying out something where there is no intelligence to pick up on. That has proven to be a challenge for Israel's security services for not only since the start of the war, but for much longer than that.
We'll also see how Israel retaliates, if there is any. Oren Liebermann for us in Jerusalem. Thank you.
President Trump.
Good morning. This is Morning Sky. I'm your host, Sky. As you've seen in this video and the previous videos, there has been an attack on Israeli citizens in the capital city of Jerusalem just a few hours ago. The shooters were neutralized or eliminated, not even by government forces, not even by the police, but by a security guard and I think a former Israeli soldier or something like that. I got that correct. I think that's right. But it appears that at least 7 people are dead, multiple people are wounded, up to about 20. And Hamas is not claiming responsibility. They're praising it, they're commending it, but they're not claiming responsibility at all. I think that it is a great amount of attention brought to this area because, as in you see in the title, it was 2 years ago when the deadliest attacks occurred in 2023, and now we have 2025. At least seven, maybe even more, could succumb to their injuries in the future. We have to look at the whole spectrum of things. We have to see, like, I don't want more people to die, but we need to have more attention to show that these people are completely debased. You know, does it take, you know, 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 people to die for, you know, Israelis to die in order for for increased attention and increased aid and understanding for that, you know, tumultuous situation over there? Because if this happened in New York City, it would be all over the place. Just 6 people? What? Oh my God. 6 people would have been crazy. It would have been on the New York Daily News. It would have been on the Post. It would have been on the Times, of course. It would have been everywhere. It would have been on the front page news. I think this may have gotten front page news if it printed it, if it was printed in time. But it would probably have been on the bottom fold, to be honest with you. But I know that it is, you know, up to the Prime Minister Netanyahu and the president. I always pronounce his name wrong. Please forgive me. It's Bazel or something like Basil. Belezel. I'm completely hacking his name. Forgive me for that, but he is even more vehement than Netanyahu. He's saying, you know, he's calling for, you know, complete death and destruction upon whoever did this, and you know, he's raining down, you know, his own sense of you know, defense against terrorists. That's a good sign. I think that's healthy. But you know, Netanyahu seems like he's wishy-washy. He seems like he can say one thing out of his mouth and then say something else out of his mouth. He'll show a strong force with saying something, and then he'll not do something and not back it up. So he's kind of a mixed bag. But it just is up to the Israeli citizens. I mean, apparently, you know, like I said, it wasn't the cops, it wasn't the warriors who neutralized the targets, the threats. It was actually somebody that was an off-duty security guard, and I think a former Israeli soldier who had their own weapons on them. But the question is, I thought that there was no capability for citizens to wear weapons, but apparently, you know, these miscreants, these awful people, they're now dead. They had, I guess they would. I didn't in my research. I did not find anything about assault rifles, but they could have used assault rifles. They might have used pistols. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the point is they rained death and destruction on innocent human beings, and human beings that deserve to live their life free of want and fear. And that is the task of the government, to protect individual rights. I don't care if it was one person. One person is too many. It just happened to be about 7 or so right now. So we just understand that. Just comprehend that note of how men and women have been gunned down and brought to their deaths because of some major warring system that is against them. Not, you know, like not like just offshoot, maybe possibly. They're still not sure because, like I said, Hamas has not claimed responsibility for it, but they definitely commend it. They are on the side of it. But this should only embolden Israel to flatten Gaza. This should only embolden Israel to stop allowing aid into the places. This should only embolden Israel to show a strong force and a strong tower against all of its enemies, everyone from Hezbollah to Hamas to other agencies outside that would wish to do harm to Israeli citizens. That's a fact. So in Jerusalem, it just seems like it's just a place of advancement and bustling and business and people going around and technologically advanced means, and at the same time there's barbarism and savagery that plagues them nevertheless. It's really sad when you think about it. It's really sad because, like I said, on many occasions, Israel is a beacon amongst the wasteland. It's a bastion amongst the wasteland. All around it are theocracies and autocracies, dictatorships, authoritarian, Islamic totalitarian states. And people are just, oh, Palestine, 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 Gaza, Gaza, Gaza. Oh my God, we have to save them. Only because they're weak. Only because they're weak. If they were strong, they'd be like, they're strong like Israel. Like I was just watching, a clip. This is similarly related, but I was just watching a clip saying how, the Black Panther Party. This is going a little bit off, but it kind of has the same flavor. The Black Panther Party said for young children, and it implied black children and poor white children. So they can't be rich and powerful to get the meals. They have to be poor and indigent and suffering and everything. It's like it's really a disgusting display that we've really engendered in our lives. It's really sad. But that's the reality of what it is right now. That's the truth. That's the truth. That's the reality. I would imagine that Netanyahu will he may come out. I want him to become out as victorious. I'm not doubling on him just to double on him. I'm just giving the objective facts. He's mealy mouthed. He goes one way and he goes the other way. He's Janus. He's got the double headed. He speaks out of one lip and out of the other one. But if he can prevail, if he can be a strong prime minister, which I just learned that the country has a prime minister and a president. Let me make sure I see his name. President. I'm gonna look it up right now. Hold on, president. Isaac Herzog, but there's another this isn't right. There's Isaac Herzog, but there's another person. His name is really hard to pronounce. I'm looking it up right now. Oh my God. I'm about to just let this go. He's now the president of Israel. Isaac Herzog is the current president. Smotrich is a far-right politician known for his stance on expanding Israeli settlements and is a minister with powers in the occupied West Bank. Okay, so why are they saying Basil Smotrich? That is not an easy name to remember all the time, but he's not the president. Isaac Herzog is the one. But Basil Smotrich is in the news right now. He's the Israeli finance minister. Excuse me. Israeli finance minister. Okay, so I had to clear that up. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to a different clip. Just hang tight. go to a different clip here.
Hin told emergency call operator.
It is the type of honest and accurate reporting that we've been doing on what's happening in Gaza.
Matthew, aren't you admitting?
Hold on. It's not giving me any backup.
We're going to start this hour with that developing news out of Jerusalem. 5 people have been killed in a shooting attack there. Let's take you to the live feeds that we are getting in from the scene. This is one of them.
Now, obviously, this is earlier. This isn't. It's the CBN News or CBN Network. They were a little bit later to the actual bombing or not shooting. Excuse me, I'm going crazy. The shooting, and they this is a little bit earlier. This is earlier. So he said 5 people were killed. Then there were reports of 6 people killed. Now apparently there are 7 people killed in all of this. So I'm gonna continue. I just wanted to clear that up.
Showing the emergency and security services there in the background, the buses and a bus stop. It's just gone midday. We understand this attack happened just after rush hour. 5 people killed. According to police there, 2 gunmen approached and opened fire. They were, quote, neutralized or killed. Many others were shot, injured and taken to hospital as well. And you can see here the scale of the operation and the security operation in the aftermath. Looks like even more vehicles arriving there. Our correspondent Yolande Nell is live at the scene for us. Yolande, we can just see that trail of vehicles coming in. Just talk us through the geography. What's behind you? Give us a sense of the scene there.
Okay, so this is a very busy road junction. We're between East and West Jerusalem here. And what was at the center of the shooting attack, the bus shelter you can see just behind me, a bus over there still parked up, and there's one more bus in this direction. A short time ago, we saw bodies being taken away in body bags by the emergency services. Now, a big crowd has assembled here. This is a place right next to a bus terminal. It was very busy a couple of hours ago when this shooting took place. Israeli police have now put extra security measures around Jerusalem. We're told that they're working on the assumption that these 2 attackers came from the occupied West Bank, from close to Ramallah, and some villages close to Ramallah have been sealed off while they conduct their search. We've been hearing a police helicopter overhead. There are plenty of ambulances lined up here a short time ago. But people still expressing their shock. This really threw people into panic. Although the Israeli police have been on a high state of alert for the past nearly 2 years, while the Gaza war has been raging on, there have been relatively few attacks of this kind, especially in the Jerusalem area. But this is an area where we have previously seen attacks. Not far from here, also, I covered early in 2023 the killing of 7 people. They were shot dead outside a synagogue in a Jewish settlement not very far from here.
Yeah, this is certainly the biggest incident since that one 2 years ago, Yolande. Has anyone come forward and claimed responsibility yet? Do we have any sense of anyone, group or behind this or motive?
At the moment, all we have is that Hamas, who have put out a statement basically praising this attack, saying that it's carried out by 2 Palestinian resistance fighters, in its words, but it has not claimed responsibility for the attack. It said that it was a response to what has been going on in Gaza and here in Jerusalem and in the occupied West Bank.
And just give us a sense, Yolande, of the area where you are. This would have been rush hour, coming towards the end of rush hour. Give us a sense of who's using that area and the road behind you?
I mean, in general, this area, it's very busy. It's a place where Palestinians and Israelis intermingle, certainly in the queues of traffic. We're not far from the edge of the West Bank. It's just up there. We're between occupied East Jerusalem and there's in the west side of Jerusalem as well. You've also got a number of Jewish settlements close to me. There's a lot of ultra-Orthodox Jewish residents in this neighborhood, and you can see that there is among the crowd here quite a lot of young men who are apparently ultra-Orthodox Jews. We're told about those people who are killed, just the smallest number of details at the moment, that it was a man and woman aged about 50 and 3 men aged about 30.
And Yolande, give us a sense. You said it was heightened security, given obviously the war in Gaza. Give us a sense of what that means in practice. Is it plenty of armed security services on the streets? Is it checkpoints to drive through for vehicles? Give us a sense of what day-to-day life is like there.
So certainly an increased presence of Israeli security forces, particularly in the West Bank. What we also saw is that many Palestinians from the West Bank who had working permits, who were coming into Jerusalem, into other parts of Israel, into Jewish settlements every day, many of them, thousands, had those permits cancelled while the war was going on. That meant that there were fewer people coming in, and that was one of the security steps that Israel said that it was taking, often around Palestinian villages and cities in the West Bank. You will see flying checkpoints. You'll see these yellow gates which block off the road at night to try to stop people from the West Bank coming into Jerusalem. Many people used to come in here to work. The Palestinian economy in the West Bank was extremely reliant on those workers.
Okay, Yolande, for people just joining us, let's run through, if we can, just take us through the timeline of what we think happened here. We've had a brief outline from police there in Jerusalem.
Okay, so it was towards the end of the rush hour when this shooting attack was reported, carried out by 2 gunmen, and it involved the bus, which you can see behind me over here, and the bus shelter right next to it. There's also another bus which was fired at, witnesses say, just up the road there. There is some footage which shows the immediate aftermath, and you can see how crowded this area was at the time, people running away as gunshots rung out. Now, there were reports quite quickly that these 2 gunmen had been neutralized, to use security speak here. We understand from the police that there were somebody from the security services and a civilian who were armed who carried out that shooting. Just a short time ago, we still saw bodies that were being taken away from here. The initial reports from the ambulance service were of 15 casualties, and we understand, as well as those 5 people who have been killed, some people remain in a very serious condition in hospital.
Yolande, for the time being, thank you very much for that. We're going to just let Yolande just speak to some people there and gather a few more details. She'll be reporting those back to us. Just before we move on, quickly want to show you the 2 live feeds that we've got coming into us here, just so you can keep across what we are keeping across. So this is very close to where Yolande was standing there. You can still see the tape up and the amount of security forces there. And we have another feed as well, but it's just a little bit unstable at the moment. And finally, just to talk you through some of the footage on social media. Now, our team at BBC Verify is working through that social media footage of the attack and its immediate aftermath. It has verified a couple of videos, but we are not showing them just at the moment. We are just doing the final technical checks on them, and then we will be bringing you those. There are always, in this incident, plenty of videos that circulate online, some of which are accurate and of the events, and others which are not. So our team at BBC Verify will be checking those, and we will be bringing you those pictures when we have them on the system, when we have them verified. And we could just see there in the background of these shots, clearly some people visiting with the security presence around them. We don't know who that is. That may well have related to a little earlier on, just before we were speaking to Yolanda, a big trail of vehicles came through down that highway to the area. It looked like security presence around those vehicles. So this may well be politicians or someone clearly who would normally receive a security detail with them traveling to the scene. But as you can see, our camera position there is just tucked away behind the cars and behind those people, so we can't exactly see who it is who is visiting. But Yolande, who we just were speaking to a moment ago and let go, may well be able to see from her position and just find out exactly A, who's visiting there, and B, if they have any more details about what happened. When we get any more details, of course, we'll be bringing you back there to Jerusalem.
Very good morning to you. It's 11 o'clock in London. The breaking story this morning, at least 6 people have been killed in a shooting in Jerusalem. Several others injured. The Israeli police say the 2 attackers have been shot dead. Let's show you live images from the scene where it is just 1 o'clock local time in Jerusalem. This is the response, the emergency response to the situation that occurred about 10:15 local time. I can tell you that this scene has got less busy as the last hour has gone on. There was a huge response from police and members of the armed forces and military. That was as the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and the National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, both visited the scene. They spoke to reporters and journalists who were on site as well. Our correspondent Adam Parsons noting just how close media was able to get to this incident location. It was a number 62 bus at a very busy intersection at the Ramot Junction in the northwest of Jerusalem. It appears that the 2 attackers entered the bus and began shooting. We understand that potentially civilians and potentially a single soldier responded to that development, shot dead the 2 attackers. The identity, the affiliation, the background, the backing of those attackers, as yet unclear. We do know that both Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad have both welcomed this attack on social media, but they have not claimed responsibility for it. We'd previously been led to believe by Israeli police that 5 people had been killed. We heard from the Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, who was speaking in Budapest, Hungary, that 6 people are believed to have lost their lives. And included in the injured is a pregnant woman. Well, responding to that incident was one of these first responders. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I've received a notice from Magen David Adam about a terror event at Ramot Junction. While this is happening, I'm hearing shots being fired as they are neutralizing the terrorists. I basically entered the scene first. I see a lot of people lying down with gunshot wounds. We quickly administered medical aid, life-saving medical aid, and they were evacuated to the hospital.
Well, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, like I say, was also at the scene and spoke to the media a short while ago. Let's take a brief listen.
אנחנו במלחמה, מלחמה עצימה נגד הטרור בכמה חזיתות. ראשית אני רוצה לשלוח
First of all, I would like to express my condolences to the families of those murdered and, of course, health to those who have been injured. And when I say we're at an intense war on several fronts, we of course have several successes against the regime of terror and organizations of terror. But the war goes on both in the Gaza Strip, where we will destroy Hamas as we have promised, and we will release all of our hostages, but unfortunately also in Jerusalem. Judea and Samaria, we have been very severely active on. The IDF and ISA and Israel police have thwarted dozens of attacks, hundreds of attacks, but not this morning. We are currently pursuing and closing down the villages where terrorists have come from, and we will come after all of those who have helped them and who have sent them, and we will take severe action against them. And I want to say very clearly that these murders, these terror attacks on all fronts, do not weaken us. They only make us more determined to complete the missions we have undertaken in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria, everywhere. We are fighting terrorism and the terror regime of the Houthis. We are fighting Iran, who is backing them all. Gaza, Lebanon, Hezbollah, all fronts, we are not stopping and we will not stop. We will intensify our actions and we will achieve all of our goals. Thank you all very much.
As we see the live scenes there of the aftermath of this shooting, we're just hearing the words and reaction there from the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu. Our security and defence analyst, Professor Michael Clark, is alongside me. And Michael, Benjamin Netanyahu there referencing their mission, the Israeli government's mission in Gaza, referencing the Houthis in Yemen, Lebanon, Hezbollah, Iran. This points to what you were telling us a few moments ago in the last hour about this mindset in the Israeli government at the moment and how this incident will be factored into that.
Yeah, it's all of a piece in the way that the Israeli government sees it. And interestingly, I hadn't heard the Netanyahu statement until just now. And Gideon Saar said the same thing a few minutes before, but obviously Netanyahu had set it out very clearly. He said, look, this is about Gaza, it's about Hezbollah, it's about what he calls Judea and Samaria, the West Bank in international law, occupied West Bank, but it's Judea and Samaria to him, to Netanyahu. And it's about Iran, who is behind all of this, I think he said, and it's about Yemen. So it's the whole region. And this is Israel, in Netanyahu's view, fighting for its survival. Some of us would say it's fighting for its enlargement, but his version of it is it's fighting for its survival. And you can see there is a sort of consistent thought behind that. And he wouldn't put it in those terms or say that unless he was confident that he's getting a sort of permissive nod from the White House to take that view. He never got on with Joe Biden or before that Obama or even George H.W. Bush. He feels as if he's got Trump's backing for this project to remake the Middle East on the basis of the...
Hold on, let me stop you right there. He meant to say George W. Bush. George H.W. Bush is his father. That was just a little mix-up, maybe just a little slip. I just caught it. But, just to be aware, just to make sure you're clear. Saying, what? I thought George H.W. Bush was there. He meant George Walker Bush. Okay.
The atrocity that occurred on October the 7th, 2023. Interestingly, if the Israelis really are fighting a 4 or 5 front war, the strains are beginning to show in their armed forces. I mean, they've called up 60,000 reservists to the latest Gaza operation in Gaza City, and they expect to have to call up another 60,000 before the end of the year. So they'll have 120,000 reservists serving, mainly backfilling. A lot of them will be in this area in Jerusalem and the West Bank, so that the whole of the army, more or less, can go into Gaza and occupy the areas that they need to occupy in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. So you can see that the IDF are becoming stretched because they're fighting on so many fronts. They had the luxury to start with of fighting on one front at a time, more or less. But
this is an image of a lot of people. What? I get the emergency vehicle people. I get some of the soldiers and the people that are defending the people. But what are these? Just people milling about? What are I just have to question that. What's going on with the guy with the cell phone? And what are these people here? The people with the red jackets, I think, are supposed to be there. The people with the yellow jackets are supposed to be there. The people with the camis on are supposed to be there. It's questionable about everybody else. I'm just wondering what is their purpose? Why are they surrounding a more than a crime scene? I guess it's a crime scene and just a terroristic scene, I guess you can call it. But we're living in serious days. We're living in a mixture. We have a huge mixture. Everything's going well and good and great, wonderful, peachy keen, rose-colored glasses, Pollyanna, wonderful. And then you have terror, ugliness, disgustingness, horrific actions, war, disease, famine, all that, But we have to remember where it stems. It stems from the people that initiate physical force. It is from the people that start the wars, that start the shootings, that start the bombings, that start all these atrocities. That's where it stems. It doesn't stem from the people that are law-abiding and want to live their lives to a great extent and want to be, on, the best pathway to happiness. That's not always the case with some people.
Undoubtedly, if they carry on doing this, they are going to find that they will be stretched. And the attackers in this case, they must have known they were going to get killed. I mean, this was obviously a suicide mission to get on buses with weapons and start firing. They must have known they'd only get a few minutes before they were killed. And so what were they trying to do other than express their anger, Palestinian anger of what's been going on, I assume? But probably, if you could have said to them, what are you trying to achieve? They'd probably said a third intifada. They're probably trying to achieve, again, an atrocity that will create the reaction on behalf of Israel to create an uprising across the West Bank.
Michael Clark, really appreciate you joining us. Just one breaking line to bring you, understand from the Reuters news agency that the Israeli military says sirens have been activated near Eilat. That is Israel's southernmost city. It sits very close to the borders of Egypt and Jordan. They say those sirens activated because of, I quote, a hostile aircraft. Cannot tell you any more details about that, but that comes as we see the live scene there in Jerusalem, 1:08 local time. According to the country's foreign minister, 6 people known to have been killed in that shooting. More details to come through the course of the day, but we'll step away from the Middle East and remind you there's plenty more stories and plenty more information and background on that situation on the Sky News website and Sky News app. You're watching Sky News. It's 11:26 in London, 1:26 in the afternoon in Jerusalem. A reminder of the day's developing story. At least 6 people have been killed.
See, these guys are laughing and kikiing. It's like another day. What are these red vest people supposed to be doing? What is their job? The one guy was ha 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 and he and what is his role? What are their roles? The people with the red vests. He's got workman gloves, like he's about to go to work on something. What is his role? What is his main function?
In a shooting in Jerusalem, several others injured. The Israeli police say the 2 attackers have been shot dead. These are the live images of the cleanup operation that's commenced very quickly after this incident. Well, let's take you to when it all began and hear from one of the first responders. They're the cleanup
crew, apparently. There must be the cleaners, the street sweepers, cleaning up the aftermath of the shooting. But they just, they're laughing and, it's just that it's a human thing. It's all people laughed at 9/11, not to laugh at 9/11, but during 9/11, like people were, it's human nature. It's a very weird space to be in because it's almost like a nervous laugh, but then it's like a real laugh. I mean, people that were in the stairwells and some of them trapped on elevators. It's only human that you have to have some kind of sense of humor about you, or you collapse into nothing. You just have to have some kind of buffer system in your own mentality, and that sometimes comes across as humor. And it, no matter what, some of the worst situations that humans have been in, they've tried to find some kind of sense of humor, try to find some sense of levity in whatever tragedy or terrible occasion may have befallen them or befallen the people around them.
I've received a notice from Magen David Adam about a terror event at Ramot Junction. While this is happening, I'm hearing shots being fired as they are neutralizing the terrorists. I basically entered the scene first. I see a lot of people lying down with gunshot wounds. We quickly administered medical aid, life-saving medical aid, and they were evacuated to the hospital.
Well, whilst this has been occurring, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar has been in Budapest in Hungary and responded to the incident.
We are in a war with radical Islamist terrorism. Europe and the international community, every country must now make a clear choice. Are they on Israel's side or are they on the side of the jihadists? We know Hungary is on our side. We completely reject the current attempts to force Israel to accept a Palestinian terrorist state in the heart of our tiny land. It will not happen. Those terrorists came this morning from the PA territories. And the establishment of such a terrorist state would have one goal only: the elimination of the state of Israel. It must be made clear: the Palestinian Authority has never disconnected from its support for terror. It rewards and encourages terror with its pay-for-slay policy for terrorists and their families. As much as the crime is more severe, they are paying more. It continues its incitement against Israel and Jews in schools, textbooks, mosques, and their media. Based on its actions, the PA does not deserve a state.
That was Gideon Saar, the Israeli foreign minister. About 25 minutes ago, the Israel Defense Forces posted on social media, on X, that sirens were sounding in southern Israel due to hostile aircraft infiltration. That was over the southernmost city of Eilat, which borders both Jordan and Egypt. We then heard that, according to the Reuters news agency and the Israeli military, that a drone that had been launched from Yemen had been intercepted. Within the last few minutes, for a second time, sirens sounding in southern Israel due to a hostile aircraft infiltration. That's the turn of phrase being used by the IDF. Let's bring in our security and defense analyst, Professor Michael Clark. Michael, two instances of sirens sounding in the south of the country. The first one seems to be linked, the IDF say, to a drone launch from Yemen. This would be the Houthis.
Yeah.
Making the most of the opportunity of kind of relative kind of disruption in Jerusalem?
You would assume so, right. Gareth. This all happened in Jerusalem, 2 or 3 hours ago now. And the Houthis are very good at seizing these opportunities. I mean, if there has been a launch from Yemen, it's got to be them. Interesting that it would be drones. They could get drones into the air quite quickly. A ballistic missile or a cruise missile, which they still have, we believe, would take them longer to prepare. So sending a couple of drones against Eilat would be logical from their point of view, because they claim and still claim that they are the only group in the Arab world who are actively supporting the Palestinian peoples. Everyone else, they say, has failed the Palestinians, and we, are still doing it. And they're getting a lot of credibility on the so-called Arab street by doing that. The Houthis are a very, very questionable group in every respect, but they're earning some easy brownie points within the Arab world by striking Israel, but they're paying a price for it.
Well, the leader of the Houthis struck in an Israeli strike, 10 days ago?
That's right. The prime minister was killed. Yeah. Al-Houthi himself is still alive, and the Houthis are a tribal grouping, and they are still supported actively by Iran. The Iranians, we know, are still sending them material. Less than they used to, but they're still sending them some of the things that they want. And the Israelis hit back very hard. When Britain and the United States were hitting Houthi targets last year because of their attacks on shipping, they were hitting very specific targets. That is the launching areas from which they were launching some of the missiles against ships. And to be honest, the British and the Americans, they're running out of targets to hit or targets to find, because these things are mobile. The Israelis didn't have any such scruple. They just attacked Hadida. They attacked the port. They attacked some of the warehousing, some of the shipping. Now, that does a great deal of damage to Yemen in general, where most of the population, or at least 60-70%, are dependent on food aid, which comes in, most of it comes in through Hadida. But undoubtedly, this will, I'm sure this will happen again. I don't believe the Israelis would leave these attacks unanswered. So probably there'll be some quite heavy attacks onto southern Yemen, maybe in Sana'a, in the airport in Sana'a, or maybe in the center of Sana'a, maybe in Hadida. But that's Israel's policy, is not to be too discriminating about where the attacks come from. Just hit the Houthis hard every time they do this. And I would imagine that they might do that again.
And it's remarkable when you think of just how many fronts of operation the IDF and the Israeli government are kind of pursuing at the moment. Because if you think down in the south, you've got those operations against the Houthis in Yemen. If you look to Syria, they're occupied Golan Heights. Well, far beyond that now, there's military outposts overlooking Damascus.
That's right. They're on
military activity.
Mount Hermon. So Israeli forces are on Mount Hermon, which is inside Syria. It's not an Israeli territory, but they've occupied it. They occupy the area on the border, literally the buffer zone of the Golan Heights. So the Golan Heights is Syrian territory legally. That was occupied and then annexed by Israel. And now they've moved into the buffer zone on the annexed territories and are playing a role now in southwestern Syria. And this is the point I've been making for some time. The Israelis have been very skillful and undoubtedly and very, very militarily competent at achieving what they've achieved. And some of their intelligence operations, the exploding pages against Hezbollah was a masterstroke. And some of their operations against Iran have been absolutely brilliant in intelligence terms. But they've walked themselves, consciously, this is what they have clearly intended, into a 3 or 4 front war to take on all of their enemies at once because they think the 7th of October attacks created a new situation. And I think they're probably right about that. A lot of us said at the time, the Middle East won't be the same again after these dreadful attacks of the 7th of October. And Israel has seized that opportunity to say, yes, we are going to remake the Middle East and we will take on all of our enemies at once. Now, tactically, they'd like to do it one at a time. Anybody would like to take them on one at a time. But unless you can defeat your enemies one at a time, they're all there at some point. So you end up taking them all on simultaneously at some level. And that's where Israel is now. They seem happy about that, or at least they seem to accept the reality of that. But undoubtedly, the IDF is stretched. And the IDF command structure is not overly happy at all about what it's being asked to do in Gaza because it just doesn't see what the military point of what it's being asked to do. And I don't think, for instance, this push on Gaza City, I'm not sure that that anyone's fighting back. I've been looking at casualty figures. The Israelis, since the beginning of their ground operation in Gaza, lost 450 people to combat deaths. They've only lost 1 in the last 5 weeks. So I don't think anybody's shooting at them. What is happening, I think, nobody knows because the international media are not allowed in. But what I think is happening is the Israelis are going through their kill list of the Hamas people that they want to get. And when they identify them somewhere, they bomb that building. And then they occupy the area and they clear it, and that takes time. But they're going through, as it were, destroying the buildings of Gaza City. But I don't think that, although Hamas certainly still exists, I don't think Hamas are shooting. Otherwise, I think there'd be more Israeli casualties. And so what we're seeing is this military operation, which is achieving more rubble. As I often say, they're bombing the rubble. And they're going to create more rubble in Gaza City and bomb that. And the Israeli military themselves are saying, why do you want us to do this? What is the political outcome? And still, nobody is prepared to tell them in Jerusalem what the political outcome is going to be.
You talk about political outcomes. We saw political reaction to the scenes in Israel earlier this morning. The Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, going to the scene of the shooting and speaking to the media. Let's take a listen.
We are at war. An intense war against terrorism on several fronts. First of all, I would like to express my condolences to the families of those murdered and, of course, health to those who have been injured. And when I say we're at an intense war on several fronts, we, of course, have several successes against the regime of terror and organizations of terror. But the war goes on both in the Gaza Strip, where we will destroy Hamas as we have promised, and we will release all of our hostages, but unfortunately also in Jerusalem. Judea and Samaria, we have been very severely active on. The IDF and ISA and Israel police have thwarted dozens of attacks, hundreds of attacks, but not this morning. We are currently pursuing and closing down the villages where terrorists have come from, and we will come after all of those who have helped them and who have sent them, and we will take severe action against them. And I want to say very clearly that these murders, these terror attacks on all fronts do not weaken us. They only make us more determined to complete the missions we have undertaken in Gaza, in Judea and Samaria, everywhere. We are fighting terrorism and the terror regime of the Houthis. We are fighting Iran, who is backing them all, Gaza, Lebanon, Hezbollah, all fronts. We are not stopping, and we will not stop. We will intensify our actions, and we will achieve all of our goals. Thank you all very much.
Let's bring in Tal Schneider, political correspondent at the Times of Israel. Good to have you with us. Appreciate you sharing your time. What do you make of what you've just heard and seen from the Prime Minister there?
Well, I think this government specifically is failing in the Israeli people, because we have never seen a period of like that where you have people being killed on the streets every day. And just want to beg to differ with the former person who spoke. There is also fighting going on in Gaza, where the terrorists are still fighting and they're still shooting at the Israeli soldiers. So we have casualties there. Obviously, it's not as harsh as it was at the beginning, but they have mass tunnels, and there is all sort of activities and killings on the Israeli soldiers inside Gaza. And for those people who were murdered today, they were just commuters. It's like a rush time in Jerusalem. People were traveling on a bus, civil people on a bus, and the terrorists went up on the bus and just started to spray. And there's 6 people who were murdered this morning while traveling to work.
We heard from Benjamin Netanyahu that operations were taking place in and around Ramallah and the West Bank. What more can you tell us about what the response has been so far from both the IDF security forces and also from politicians?
It's too early to tell. I don't know to tell you, because we don't know from whereabouts those terrorists came through into Jerusalem, but it's high alert, obviously, and people on the street in Jerusalem responded. There was a soldier there who was also traveling on the bus, and he was the first one to respond. And people saved, they saved their brothers and sisters by pulling people out and helping them. But, obviously, we have, like, as you mentioned, 2 UAV coming in this morning, people in Jerusalem shooting on a bus. And in Gaza, there is activity, according to what we hear, which is very harsh this morning.
What does the events such as this do to kind of people's state of emotions? Because, like you say, also the reports of these 2 drones being fired from Yemen, we assume from the Houthis, although they've not taken responsibility yet, but that would be the working assumption, targeting the south of the country, Alat, the southernmost city. As we're looking here, this footage this morning, 6 dead. What's that doing to kind of psyche and emotions of ordinary Israelis at the moment?
It's very difficult. One of the drones yesterday hit a southern airport inside the terminal, where people were staying out of, coming out of their flights, like an internal flights. So the drone yesterday hit a terminal. People got wounded. The entire building shattered. The glass is shattered all over. It's very difficult. You cannot really, go on like that. It's daily here, where you're being attacked from so many places. And we are approaching the 2nd year anniversary of the biggest massacre the Israelis have ever known, where the terrorists slaughtered people in their homes, in their beds. They took 250 people into Gaza. They're still keeping 50 of them. 20 of them are still alive. The tunnels, the IDF was not able to deal with the entire tunnel system. It's like a huge tube, underground. So I think the atmosphere here is very, very difficult. And the government, it's unbelievable. They're probably unable to do anything.
What is the level of public support or otherwise for the government of Benjamin Netanyahu at the moment, considering what you've just laid out?
There's like 70% support to end the war in Gaza in exchange for whole hostages. That's the big thing here. It's a national, theme at the moment. There's tons of people in the streets protesting against the government. They want to end the war. I know there's a lot of discourse around the world about ending the war. The Israeli people, they want to end the war as well, in exchange for all hostages. Not just, ending it. And Netanyahu, polling suggests that he's unable to form a coalition, but because elections are not tomorrow or next month, then this is just polling. It can change very quickly, and I cannot predict anything. But if you look at the current situation, there is no support for this government. It's obvious.
Tal Schneider joining us live from Tel Aviv. Good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
11:42, you're watching Sky News. Gareth Barlow with you. Still to come, we track down the woman at the centre of a hit-and-run theory. Investigators.
Okay, that wraps up about Israel. Let me get this out of here.
By police.
Supposed to talk about it. So I appreciate everybody that came through. I did not engage with the comment section, as you know. I'm experimenting. So far, I've let go. Let me just say let go, or booted, or not booted, but they upon their own discretion have unsubscribed from my channel. 3 people. I don't know who you are, but you know who you are, and I appreciate you for unsubscribing, because I don't need dead weight. I only need people that are going to respond to me, respect me, and disrespect me, and thing, but at least show that you can be of service. You can be of the right agenda, riding with me on this journey. So, if you wanted to speak with me, you can send me an email, and you can always donate. You can go to my Cash App, $SKYLERSAUNDERS1. And I do appreciate the people that came on board, and to the victims of this terrible act in Jerusalem, let them, let the families know that they did not die in vain, that Jerusalem, and Israel as a whole will rise up and crush all of its enemies with, extreme prejudice and complete and utter, power and might, and let that be known. So I thank you again for watching, and stay tuned for the next show, probably sometime in the morning again tomorrow. Take care.